Jeffrey John Zerull, and I am 54.
Sally Ann Zerull. And my age, well, you can figure it out. I was the only one in my family that was born when there were 48 states.
Claire Victoria Zerull. I am 18 years old. I'm Alise Catherine Zerull, and I am 18 years old.
My full name is Gladys Irene Paulus Stone King, and I am 85 years old.
Richard Eugene Stone King is 88 years old.
Richard Stone King Jenkins, and I'm 34 years old.
My name is Kelly Durling, and I am 28 years old.
David Randall Brummett, and in 2 days I will be 62 years old.
Laura Jane Brummett, and I'm 61 years old.
Kristen Don Meredith, and I turned 32 today.
Eric Matthew Meredith, 31.
The Pioneers.
Maroons. The Moline Maroons.
They are the Indians. The Keller Indians.
We were the Galesburg Silver Streaks.
The Silver Streaks.
My high school mascot was the Campbell County Camels.
We were the Trojans.
Maroon. Moline Maroons.
Maroon.
The Bettendorf Bulldogs.
Wildcats.
Probably the Blues Brothers.
Sabrina with Audrey Hepburn.
My favorite movie, currently I would say that would be Catching Fire. I liked Gravity. Gravity was great.
I think probably The Christmas Story. That was kind of a fun thing, you know.
Where Eagles Dare.
Keep coming back to Hunt for Red October, though.
The Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Favorite movie is Stripes.
North by Northwest.
My favorite movie is White Christmas.
Shawshank Redemption.
Community coming back for its 5th season on January 2nd on NBC.
Downton Abbey.
Adventure Time. I really like Community on NBC.
I think we always, when the girls were young, we watched The Musketeers.
I don't know whether I really have one.
Babylon 5.
Toss up between How I Met Your Mother and Big Bang Theory.
Oh, all-time favorite is probably Leave It to Beaver.
I think right now I like Person of Interest.
The Mindy Project.
Walking Dead.
Would you go along with someone like me?
John Anderson, a libertarian out of Rockford, Illinois.
I don't know.
No, I have not. Haven't voted for anything yet.
Franklin Roosevelt.
Dewey.
Libertarian. 2000. Had to look this up. Harry Brown.
John Kerry.
I couldn't tell you for sure. I don't know for sure.
Richard Milhouse Nixon.
George W. Bush.
George Bush. George Bush Jr.
I'm not sure I ate it, but once Sally and I were in the bleachers at Wrigley Field, and we looked down at our plate of nachos that we had purchased, and there was a half an earwig left in the nachos, so we probably ate the other half.
Liver.
A soap-flavored jelly bean.
Flaxseed.
Oh, I don't have anything that I actually had to.
Kumquats.
There was a curious experiment with miracle fruit. I don't know if you've ever heard of miracle fruit.
Durian fruit.
Beets.
I'm not a huge fan of sauerkraut, I guess.
Barbecue, raw corn kernels, but they had barbecue powder.
Egg casserole cooked in a crock pot.
I can tell there's something.
8th grade science teacher, that would be Mr. Plum.
I'm gonna say it's a toss-up between Mrs. Marchek and Mrs. Albrecht. Mrs. Marchek because she thought I was perfect. Mrs. Albrecht because she was kind of cool and even tried to teach me Russian.
Right now, my favorite teacher is my environmental science teacher, Miss Williams. Dr. Jackson Fowler, she's really cool.
She was my home economics teacher. I do not remember her name because it's been so many years.
Her name was Mrs. White. She was a math teacher.
Brent Daly, Mr. Daly from Campbell County High School. And just a really exuberant biology teacher.
My Algebra 2 teacher and calculus teacher, Miss Stoker.
8th grade, I had a really cool English teacher. His name was Mr. Swetberg.
Music teacher when I was in junior high.
Miss Marsek, she was my talent and gifted teacher in middle school.
I'm married to her.
My first car was my Aunt Irene's old car, a 1968 Buick LeSabre that only took premium gas and the roof leaked.
I drove an International Harvester Scout.
2005, a Volvo S60. It was black. It was beautiful. My first car was a 2005 Volvo S60.
We had a Plymouth, probably a 47 Plymouth when Dick and I got married, but that's the only car. I mean, would be the first car.
1947 Plymouth.
My first car was a car of Mom's. It was a 1981 Subaru called the Silver Seahawk Subaru, or Steve for short.
I had a light blue Acura Integra.
My first car was a 57 Chevy, white, 2-door, with red wall tires.
Ford Pinto. It was green and it was a 4-speed.
It was an Oldsmobile. It was old. It was like 1988, I think, and it was like moss green.
An Omega.
Caddy at the Arsenal Golf Club.
My first job was working at the airport gift shop.
A lifeguard at age 16 at Hawaiian Falls in Roanoke. I was a lifeguard when I was 16 at Hawaiian Falls in Roanoke, Texas.
When I was in grade school, there was an elderly woman that had a little bitty deli type thing where she hired me to bake the sandwiches for the kids that went to school.
Young Strands Market.
Comic book shop attendant at Storyteller Entertainment.
I was a babysitter essentially at a daycare.
I was 16. I got a job at a retail place called Turnstile.
I worked for a truck equipment distributor.
My first job was at Dairy Queen.
A dishwasher at a summer camp.
August 8th, 1988, I was able to meet Harry Carey at his restaurant Holy Cow in Chicago.
I was in the presence of Elizabeth Taylor.
Alex Russell, and I also met the guy who plays David Karofsky on Glee. Will Bakke, a director in this movie that I was an extra in called Believe Me.
I never remember meeting anybody really famous.
My wife and I were introduced by Sir David Attenborough socially.
David Attenborough, while I was in Antarctica, he actually introduced me to my husband.
And August 8th, 1988, that was the day of the first Wrigley game, and we met Harry Carey at his restaurant.
Mm-hmm. Well, Audra McDonald, who's a music person.
I was chosen to introduce Keisha Knight-Pulliam, who was Rudy on The Cosby Show.
I met somebody at the Cubs convention named Ron Santo.
We had a calico cat named Dinky who lived to be 21 years old.
My dog named Blackie. He was black.
Yes, and I still do. Her name is Fluffy. She's a 11-year-old American short hair but long-haired black cat with 2 cats. One of them's still alive. Her name's Fluffy. She's like 11. And then I had Anastasia. She was her sister. And she died, but she's a real sweet cat. I miss her.
No.
Yes, a dog, Scout.
His name was Frosty. He was a small gray cat.
Series of betta fishes. They're kind of like goldfishes in that they die all the time. And then we also had a dog.
I had a frog, and I also one year I got a little baby duck, and I actually kept it in my bedroom until it got too big, and then we, gave it to a farm or something. I'm not sure.
Yes, we had several different dogs. I guess the first one I remember, a black dog that we called Midnight.
Yes, I had a dog named Ginger.
I had several pets and they all died.
Pink Floyd.
Favorite performer were the Beach Boys.
My favorite performer, I would have to say, is Idina Menzel, but my favorite musical group is The Shoe. I like Fun, F-U-N, period. They're becoming a really popular band.
Frank Sinatra, his voice and the songs that he sang.
I'm sorry, I can't think of what the name of the group was. It was a band.
I think I gotta go with Rise Against on this one, actually.
It's probably Lady Antebellum.
My favorite performer is Billy Joel.
I guess Audra McDonald would be.
Sarah Groves.
I really like Explosions in the Sky.
I've had 3.
I have only had one in all of my years.
None! This many!
None!
One.
Well, maybe I did once.
Oh, 2.
0!
I'm guessing it's 10 or less. I don't know the exact number.
Probably 3.
0.
2.
Oh, that was in September of 1977 at Blackhawk College. In our English 101A class, I was sitting in the back as usual, and in the front row was this cute girl who unbelievably drove an SUV every day. So she was a little girl in this huge SUV, and 2 years and 8 months later I married her.
I don't exactly remember the first time I met him. We were in English class together at our college. Our very first freshman year, first class, 8 o'clock Monday morning. I don't necessarily remember meeting him, but I know I was in his presence, and I think it just kind of like the awareness of being in the same class probably happened more so than a direct hello, my name is kind of meeting sort of thing.
When I do, I guess. Shut up.
First time I met him, we were at what they called a propeller club. It was after the war. And he wasn't such a good dancer, but his brother was a good dancer. So in the roundabout, I had a close girlfriend, and she ended up dating his brother, and I ended up dating and marrying him, and I ended up with my husband.
There was a club called the Prop Club above a tavern at Nelson's Taverns, I think it was. And this was a place to dance, and I think I asked her to dance. That was the first time I think I met her.
Oh, the first time I met, when I met Kelly, she was a grantee at McMurdo Station, and way down the hall at the far end there was a long-term ecological research group. They were pretty much set up in one of these labs, and they had people coming and going all season long. 6-month season, lots of different folks, really nice people, all of them. But there was this one really quiet girl who always seemed really cool, but just a little aloof. And yeah, she was that cool, quiet chick down in the LTER lab.
Oh. Well, I was at a wrap party for the BBC in Antarctica when they were filming Frozen Planet down there. And I got to talking to Sir David Attenborough and was telling him about my project. And he was getting kind of bored and needed to talk to other people. And my husband, Rich Jenkins, just walked into the room, and Sir David Attenborough took me up to him and was like, "Rich, have you met Kelly?" And I basically got handed off to Rich, and it stuck.
Well, my spouse was my childhood sweetheart, and so I can't really think of the first time that we met, but probably it would have been at church in our youth group, and it was called Jet Cadets. And You know, that's probably when I just fell in love with her. She's now my wife.
We went to grade school together, and I don't think we weren't sweethearts at that time. So probably when, you know, when early in second grade, we went to school together. When I first probably started liking him was when I was in maybe junior high, and it was at church, and just part of the same youth group, and grew up about a mile apart then, he and I, and through junior high he would jump off the bus and get on his bike and ride over here and meet my bus when I was getting off and walk me home. And now we've been married almost 40 years, so long time.
My husband Eric and I were in choir together in high school, or in college, and when our sophomore year or it was our freshman year of college, and I remember kind of like looking at him and being like, oh, he looks kind of cool, and he was wearing this like vintage, you know, kind of like old man hat, and I went up to him and was like, hey, cool hat, and he was just whatever, and I was like, okay, well, forget you. So
First time I met my wife was, I knew her in college. We knew each other from choir, but the time that I remember was when we went out with a group of friends, and then after that, her and I went to church together, and I think it was pretty much after that that we started hanging out a lot more by ourselves, and that was it. So that was in 2001.